Some nights, I walked miles through this city just so I wouldn't have to go home. Not because I didn't have a place to stay, but because somewhere along the way, I stopped feeling like I belonged in my own life. I lived fast, woke up late, ate without tasting, scrolled through my phone to forget the present. Every day felt like a tired copy of the one before it. I wasn't really living. I was just existing, like millions of others out there, chasing everything, except myself. And then, on a quiet night, with rain tapping on my jacket and loneliness pressing on my chest, a quote popped up on my screen. Not from a celebrity, not from a guru, but from an emperor who lived nearly 2,000 years ago. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years." That line hit me like a slap across the face. I stopped. I listened. For the first time in a long time, I really listened. I found Stoicism, not in a textbook, but in the silent collapse of my own life. So I made a decision to live like a Stoic for 30 days, not to make a video, not to prove anything, but to save myself. And now, I want to share this journey with you. Not because I figured it all out, I haven't, but because somewhere in this broken, beautiful mess of trying, maybe you'll see a part of your own story too. So if you're tired of running, of numbing, of feeling like you're living someone else's life, then maybe this is your sign to pause, to look within, to start again. Let's begin. Week 1, Awakening. Days 1 to 7. The morning light slipped gently through the half-closed blinds of my small apartment in Brooklyn. The alarm rang at 5 a.m. But this time, I didn't reach for my phone. I didn't stumble into the kitchen for coffee. I didn't open my laptop. I just sat on the edge of my bed, bare feet on the cold wooden floor, and let the silence stretch. And for the first time in what felt like forever, that silence didn't feel like loneliness. It felt like peace. Outside, the city hadn't woken up yet. No footsteps, no sirens, just the soft hum of the radiator and the occasional creak from the hallway. And in that stillness, something shifted. It was just me, the quiet, and a chance to begin again. I reached for a journal, an old leather-bound one I'd forgotten at the back of a drawer. No filters, no edits, just the raw truth. I wrote, not to complain, not to fix anything, but to finally see myself. That morning didn't change the world, but it changed how I showed up in it. I came across a quote by Marcus Aurelius. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Sounds simple, right? But it took me a while to really get it. All my life, I thought every event demanded a reaction. Someone cuts me off in traffic. I get angry. A negative comment shows up. I feel hurt. Someone doesn't reply. I start guessing why. Stoicism taught me this. Not everything deserves your energy. Once, I was waiting in line at the store, and someone just barged in front of me. Before, I'd fume and complain. Now I just sighed and told myself, this isn't in my control. Weirdly, I didn't feel weak, I felt stronger. Like I chose peace over proving myself right. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "If something is too chaotic, retreat within." I began to treasure those early mornings. Steam rising from my coffee cup. Sunlight warming the blank page of my journal. I wrote about loneliness. About all the times I tried to please others and lost myself in the process. Then one morning, a message lit up my phone. It was from her. "I think we should stop seeing each other." No explanation, no anger, just a quiet ending. I stared at the screen for a long time, and for the first time in my life, I didn't shout. I didn't beg for answers. I didn't send a paragraph trying to make it make sense. Instead, I opened my journal and wrote a single line. She is not within my control. Only my emotions are. There was pain, of course there was, but beneath it, a strange kind of clarity. Love, like everything else in life, is borrowed. We don't own it, we experience it. And when it leaves, all we can do is let it go with grace. I took a deep breath, stepped outside, and walked for hours through the quiet streets of Brooklyn. Not to escape the pain, but to be with it. To understand that heartbreak isn't the end. Sometimes, it's just the beginning of you coming home to yourself. That didn't erase the pain, but it saved me from drowning in bitterness and regret for months. I stopped seeing myself as someone trying to live well. I became someone learning to live consciously. I stopped chasing other people's approval. I stopped needing to know everything, be perfect, do it all. That's when I truly understood. Peace doesn't come from things getting easier, but from you becoming stronger. I didn't become a Stoic in a week, but I started living like one by realizing most of my suffering came not from what happened to me, but how I reacted. Week 2, Facing the Self. Days 8 to 14. This week, the rain didn't stop. Gray skies hung low over Brooklyn, and every morning, the streets were slick with drizzle. But I ran anyway, down Eastern Parkway, past shuttered cafes and sleepy bodegas, through Prospect Park where the trees dripped with cold silence. I ran, shoes soaked, hoodie heavy with rain, breath fogging in the chilled air. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't Instagram-worthy, but it was discipline. And to be honest, I surprised myself. After week 1, a part of me expected to quit like I always did. But something was different this time. Not just in my body, but in the way I spoke to myself. I wasn't chasing a six-pack. I was training my will. Every drop of rain that hit my skin was like life saying, "Let's see how serious you really are." And for the first time in a long time, I answered back with action. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." At first, that hit hard. How can I control my mind when everything around me feels so out of control? As I kept going, I started to notice something else. How much I've been hiding from my own flaws. I used to think I was calm and patient, but Stoicism showed me the truth. I get angry too easily, crave approval, and avoid tough realities. It wasn't easy to admit, but it was necessary. One night, I deleted TikTok, not because it's bad, but because I realized I was letting distractions steal my time and peace. Mindless scrolling wasn't helping me grow. It was just noise drowning out my own progress. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying. Every morning run, every moment I chose calm over anger, that was a win. I'm learning to face myself honestly and take responsibility for my mind. But I'm not gonna lie, there were still days I lost my patience, slipped back into old habits. Change isn't a straight line. I'm far from perfect. That's why I'm ready to dig deeper next week, face those moments head on, and keep moving forward. But I'll be honest, there were days I messed up, days I picked up my phone first thing in the morning and didn't stop scrolling, days I didn't journal. I got frustrated easily, even snapped at someone over a coffee order. Some mornings, I just stayed in bed, hoping the world would leave me alone. Change isn't easy. It doesn't happen in a straight line. It's not always inspiring or beautiful. It's confusing, it's uncomfortable, and honestly, I'm still figuring it out. There were moments I asked myself, am I actually growing or just going in circles? But here's what I've come to understand. The days I stumbled weren't a waste. They were part of the process. That's when being a Stoic really meant something. Not when things were calm, but when everything felt like too much. And I still chose to take a breath and try again. So no, I'm not done. I still have a lot to learn, but I'm not giving up. Next week, I want to go deeper. Not to be perfect, but to be more honest with myself. To see those old habits clearly and tell them I see you, but you don't control me anymore. And then keep going. Marcus Aurelius once said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." And on the hardest mornings, that simple reminder helped me get up. Week 3, Crisis and Awakening. Days 15-21. Week 3 hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't some life-shattering event, just a few words from someone I care about deeply. But they landed hard, not because they were harsh, but because maybe they were a little true. My first instinct, get defensive, argue, prove I was right, but I didn't. Not because I'm wise, honestly, because I was just tired. Tired of always reacting, tired of saying things I didn't mean, then sitting in regret 5 minutes later. So I sat down at the little kitchen table, the morning light barely coming through the blinds, and I opened my journal. I didn't try to sound wise or poetic. I just wrote everything, the anger, the embarrassment, the old wounds it brought up, how part of me still feels like a kid, just wanting to be seen, to be understood. And the more I wrote, the more the tension started to ease. I still didn't have the answers, but I had space between the feeling and the reaction. And in that space, I found a kind of peace. That day, I didn't send a long message, didn't try to explain or fix anything, didn't try to control how they saw me. I just let it be. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke." That night, when I read that quote again, it hit different. The words didn't break me. The story I told myself about them did, and that story I could rewrite. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone does wrong, it is because they are mistaken about what is good." That idea slowly sank in. Maybe the pain wasn't about me at all. Maybe it was their own struggle, their own confusion speaking through harsh words. Some mornings, I sat in my car after fights, head down on the steering wheel, feeling exhausted. Other nights, I sat in quiet meditation, watching the city lights flicker outside, wondering, what is life really about? Marcus also reminded me the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every painful moment, every setback, it wasn't a dead end. It was the path itself. But here's the crucial part. Embracing Stoicism doesn't mean I'm some passive victim, waiting for life to hand me misery. It means I refuse to let hardship define me or dictate my emotions. The philosophy teaches me that while I can't control everything that happens, I can always control how I respond. I'm not sitting here playing the victim card or blaming the world for my pain. Instead, I'm choosing to see challenges as training grounds, tough lessons that build resilience and wisdom. When things fall apart, I don't collapse, I rebuild. When I get knocked down, I get up with more clarity and strength. That's the power of Stoicism. It hands me the reins to my own mind. No matter how wild the external storms get. This week wasn't easy. It was raw, messy, and honestly, a little lonely. There were moments when I wanted to quit, when the silence felt too loud, when the self-doubt crept in and whispered, "You're not changing, you're just pretending." But I kept going, not perfectly, not with some grand, heroic energy, just one small choice at a time. Getting out of bed when I didn't feel like it, putting my phone down even when I craved the distraction, choosing not to send that angry text, sitting with the discomfort instead of running from it. And somewhere in the middle of that quiet struggle, I found something I hadn't felt in a long time, a kind of strength that doesn't shout, a strength that lives in acceptance, not in fixing everything, but in holding space for the things I can't control. And you know what I'm starting to believe. Maybe this is what real growth looks like. Not a big, dramatic transformation, but these tiny, quiet victories when you show up for yourself, even when it hurts. Week 4, the rebuilding. Days 22 to 30. As the days went by, I started to feel lighter. Not because life suddenly got easier, it didn't. There were still arguments, still disappointments, still the everyday chaos of being human. But something in me had shifted. I remember one morning clearly. I was already running late, spilled coffee on my shirt, emails piling up. Then, in the middle of it all, I got a call from a family member, the kind that usually ends in tension and raised voices. Old me, I would have snapped, tried to control the conversation, tried to win, but that day, I didn't. I just listened, really listened. And when I spoke, I didn't defend or attack. I simply said, "I hear you, and I hope you know I love you." And for the first time in a long time, there was no fight. We hung up in silence, but it wasn't a cold silence. It felt peaceful. That's when I realized the world hadn't changed. I had. Something inside me had grown quieter, clearer, more grounded. That's what this practice had been teaching me all along. You can't always calm the storm, but you can learn to calm yourself. And sometimes, that's enough. I started saying no more often, not with resentment, but with quiet confidence. Not every opportunity deserved my time. Not every message needed a reply. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it." It was strange how freeing that felt. I stopped seeking constant inspiration. I used to chase productivity hacks, daily quotes, new books, hoping they'd unlock something magical. But truth is, I didn't need more noise. I needed silence. In the stillness, I started hearing things I'd forgotten, like my own voice. I kept a single Stoic line with me each day, just one. I didn't highlight it. I lived it. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That sentence stayed with me, not to impress anyone, but to remember what matters when nobody's watching. And yes, I heard the whispers. Stoicism is cold, they said. It's emotionless, outdated. But I've cried during these 4 weeks. I've knelt beside heartbreak. I felt everything, fully, deeply. And yet, I've also learned not to be owned by those feelings. There's nothing cold about clarity. Let them doubt. Let them misunderstand. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about not letting chaos govern your soul. It's not denial. It's discipline. It's not indifference. It's inner freedom. I realized the Stoics weren't just thinkers. They were warriors of the unseen. fighters for the soul's peace. And by facing discomfort, choosing honesty, and showing up each day, even when I didn't feel like it, I was slowly becoming one too. No, I'm not finished. I still get angry, still lose patience. But I don't run anymore. I don't reach for my phone to escape. I sit with it. I breathe. I choose my response. That, I think, is the real rebuild. Not changing the world, but changing how you carry yourself through it. 30 days later. So, what really happened after 30 days of living like a Stoic? I didn't unlock a secret to life. I didn't become perfectly disciplined, and I definitely didn't stop feeling pain, doubt, or fear. But I did stop running from them. I began to sit with discomfort instead of avoiding it. I learned to pause before reacting, to be where my feet are, to meet life, not on my terms, but on its own, and not flinch. There's a quiet kind of power in that, a freedom not of circumstance, but of perspective. No, Stoicism didn't change my life in 30 days. It reminded me that the power to change had always been mine. And if you're watching this, maybe, just maybe, it's already yours too. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and it completely transformed the way I see the world. If this story touched something in you, even just a little, I invite you to walk this path with me, not because I have the answers, but because I'm still asking the same questions you are, and sometimes the journey makes more sense when we don't walk it alone. So if you found something meaningful here, a moment of clarity, a breath of stillness, a sentence that made you pause, consider subscribing. Share it with someone who might be in the middle of their own storm. Leave a comment. Let me know where you are on your path. Because this isn't just a video, it's a space for growth, for honesty, for people learning slowly to live on purpose. And I'd be honored to have you here.